Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, aboxwithnolid, a channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the realities and the day-to-day lived experience of complex trauma, but I really want to get into the understandings and the mechanics behind it, to help you guys develop ways to help yourselves to heal and to make use of the resources that you have around you to better support the quality of your lives. Now, this is the follow-on from the last video on fear states. And in this video, I want to get into a little bit more on how you can work with them. Now, as I said in the previous video, there are primarily two types. There's a learned fear state where you've had a physical experience requiring an external response. You've learned to be afraid of something because you've had an experience with it. And then there's the second one, is the assigned fear state, and that fear state revolving around the fear we have of our own ability to cope, that fear that comes from the betrayal of attachment, the pre-verbal early childhood complex trauma, our ability to be safe, that base trauma response or complex trauma response that drives fight, flight, freeze, that drives so many facets of how trauma plays out within us and within our lives. That overall sense of fear that we assign to everything we try to do. And in this video, I want to get into some of the ways that we can start to work with it. Because as I said in the previous video, the second type, the assigned fear, you cannot desensitize from it. You can skill up and work within yourself to heal your connections, to heal your attachment, and to gain a better support base within yourself, and that knowledge base is safe. That is how you work with healing assigned fear. Not expose yourself thousands of times with the hope that you'll get the confidence to get through it. To achieve this, we need to understand what the two types, when triggered, feel like. And they do feel internally different. The first one is a trigger. Like using a dog as an example, you hear an aggressive dog, in a fraction of a second you're looking at how exposed you are and what you need to do to get away, fight, protect, whatever you need to do to stop that something from happening. It's an actionable, physical, environmental engagement-based response. And it's like that. It's a fraction of a second response. That, we know what that feels like. And if you want good examples to watch it, watch any of the Bushman videos on YouTube, and you'll see it thousands of times played out. They're quite funny, a lot of them also. But that feeling, you need to go, I know what that feels like. And then with assigned fear, that fear base that is present, ever present, and always switched on. That fear base that is always scanning and assessing everything all the time. It feels different when it gets an active layer of, when we get to that point where we need to respond. And it's understanding that tipping point. It's feeling it when it comes up. An easy example is, I was reminded of it today when I have a list of things I'm trying to organize. It came up because I was getting a couple of demands on phone calls and on messages, and I was trying to organize things, and it came up. And it is, there's a frustration base, but it's in a fear of being overwhelmed. It's a fear of not being able to meet what is being asked of you. That feels different to an aggressive dog running up to a fence. And it is recognizing those two completely different sensations within you, so that when either one comes up, you approach it in a different way. This is the key understanding for this particular video. It is knowing which fear state within you is triggered. And for most of us, we have both. If we've gone through prolonged trauma, we have both. And they're two different ecologies. They're two different personalities. And they are fundamentally coming from two different parts within us. When you're looking at a learned fear, it's an actionable response. It's our fight flight. It's our direct HP actual driven. It's our direct defensive response. That is what we need to work with. When it's assigned fear, we need to understand how to step back, assess our environment. A few seconds ago, no, I'm not in any danger. What I'm afraid of is in my ability to enact, or my ability to cope, my ability to do, or my ability to be where I am at. It is my skill sets that have come into question because my attachment base was altered and harmed. Assigned fear comes from attachment trauma. In the next video, I'll go into a bit more detail. But this fear base, because in the most common examples, you will see it with pre-verbal and early childhood, or severe, prolonged, complex, multiple type trauma, we are constantly reminded over and over again that we don't have the skills, we cannot protect ourselves, we cannot keep ourselves safe, we cannot change our environment or our circumstance or our situation. That is the driving force behind an assigned fear state. So we need to approach it by learning skills, by working on healing our attachment and gaining the support around us to be able to address those feelings of overwhelmment and then the fear that comes from those feelings of overwhelmment. Like I said in the first video, this fear base needs to be respected. Because any one of us, as those of us that have it, we know how debilitating it is and how limiting and restricted it is. But it's understanding the two switches, each one how they feel. Because in those few seconds is the ability to work with it. And when we're deliberately trying to target assigned fear in a therapeutic sense, having that understanding of where that switch is and what it feels like, we can titrate. As I said in numerous videos, when we work with healing in our core, when we're healing complex trauma, we need to titrate. We go in, we go out. Survival state, out of it, something new, work with it, bring it back. Survival state, understand it, get the aha moment, and so forth, backwards and forwards. Thousands and thousands of times. Little tiny steps each and every time. To heal trauma, we need to attach and belong. To attach and belong, we need skill sets, social skills, problem-solving skills, interactional skills, and the confidence to be able to connect, and the knowledge of how to connect, and the neurological responses to enjoy connections and to enjoy being part of. All of this is tied up in healing and working with disempowering the effect of assigned fear. The more we belong, the less our assigned fear will be active, the less it will grow, and the more often it will likely dissipate and become a memory. In the next video, as I said, I'll go into more the attachment and assigned fear, how they work hand in hand. But understand that when you try to heal assigned fear, it's those first few moments. Like this morning when I was triggered, I knew it was that. I knew I wasn't in any immediate danger. I knew what was happening. I stepped back. I simplified what I was trying to do. I ignored some of the messages that I was being asked. I focused on having the information before I even looked at what was being sent to me. They could wait. I need the information. They want it. I'll get the information. Then I'll look at what you're talking to me about. It's creating a process to space out, to be able to go, yes, I'm doing these steps. And if you keep on trying to push through it, you end up just throwing the phone across the room or whatever, you'll have an outburst, you'll have a moment where you can't. And with assigned fear, it builds into a complete fight, flight, panic, get the hell out of Dodge. We need to work with it well before it gets to that. And as I said, the key to that understanding is recognizing what it feels like when it starts to become heightened. If it's an actionable fear response it hits, we know we need to respond. Common sense, you need to do something about your situation. An assigned fear, it does feel different. And if you think about it and sit with it and gain an aha moment, you will realize what your particular version, each one of our feelings and the way we view it is different and is unique. It is recognizing within you your own, I know what this is. And it's very close to a frustration. Because as I said, assigned fear is around our own ability to know what to do, our own ability to respond, our own ability to cope, our own ability to resolve, deal with, or get out of a situation. Put these two understandings into play and just spend some time by yourself and go through some of your experiences over the last few days, and you will find these two separate feelings. And that opens the door to be able to work with them. So I hope this video is clear enough for you guys. And as always, I love you guys' comments, questions, and feedback. And be mindful, be safe. And I'll see you all next time.